All right, guys, welcome back to the Pursuit of Property podcast. We have our 4th episode of January already.
Yeah.
And today we are joined by our good friend, Ashley Full. Ashley is a realtor, investor, mother, the president-elect of the Fresno Association's, or Greater Fresno Women's Council of Realtors. And
it's a long title.
we were practicing before this, and it didn't work. And we're here today just to talk about how Ashley balances having so many different titles and so many different jobs. And I think Ashley does a really good job of showing how busy people still get things done.
Love it.
Well, Ashley, start us off. How did you get started in the business? Tell us a little bit about just who Ashley is, what she does, what she loves, everything, all that good stuff.
Sure, love it. Super happy to be here, guys. Thanks for having me. I got started in real estate. It'll be 4 years this year. Scott and I started on the same team, the Clayson Group. Benny Clay was my realtor. So when it was my husband's idea to become a realtor, I thought he was crazy. I was like, I don't want to sell stuff. That's not me. But I was interested in the flexibility. My husband works crazy long hours and a lot of hours. So we knew that I couldn't go back and punch a clock 9 to 5 because I have to be there for my kids. I have 2 girls. 11 and 8, soon to be 12 and 9 next month, 6th grade and 3rd grade, so we're really busy. They're in sports, gymnastics, archery, diving, you name it, we're in it, Girl Scouts, all the good stuff. So so he was my realtor, loved him, he was great guy. I happened to call him, he goes, wow, it's funny that you called me because I just had a meeting with my future business partner, Jason Pritchard, think we're going to start a team, love to have you come in.
Well, and did you know Benny beforehand, or how did you get connected with Benny? Because I didn't even know that story. That's crazy.
I think I know this.
Yeah, so it was his open house on his property is now my house.
Way.
So it was just him standing there chilling. And it was his family friend's home, and they had already moved on. So, and he was holding the open house. And this was 5 years ago. So
right,
the open houses were not busy. Yes. So he was just hanging out by himself. And we walked into this house, and it was a little over our budget. And I fell in love with it. And I told my husband, I was like, we can't do that again. Like, I love that house so much. Benny was super nice. He followed up with us when I think they did a little price reduction or something. And then he just took really good care of us. He did both sides, but we really liked him. And then I knew he was my first phone call when I had any questions. Because you know Benny, he's like super easy to talk to, really nice. So he was my first phone call.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's been 4 years. Obviously, you've done pretty well. You've got a lot of sales under your belt. You crush either of us, and you now also are really, really involved in a whole bunch of different, like, outside of just the sales part of real estate, you're in the leadership. So how do you even, like, Kate and I sometimes get bogged down just selling houses. Like, how do you even divvy up your time?
Yeah, I know it's hard. I honestly attribute so much of it to how we started with the
Really?
Clayson Group. They downloaded it's exactly why you guys are successful is why I'm successful. The discipline that we learned in our schedule, you have to show up. Keep your emotions in check, treat people right, be here for the people over the profits first, and everything else, circles back around. So it's definitely that discipline. Yeah. I knew getting into it that I was going to have to be more disciplined. I didn't want to be that, honestly, coming from being a housewife to do, doing nothing, taking care of my family. I didn't want to go just sit at a cubicle somewhere. We have a super high failure rate in real estate, and I knew that was not going to be good for me. And I had never done sales before, so I really balanced what the team was going to look like. And in my first interview, when I did sit down with them, they were like, oh, we're the first ones here in the morning and we're the last ones to leave. And I was like, I can't do that. I'm going to be really honest with you. And I promised myself that I was going to be honest with them and myself. And I said, I can't do that, but I bet you I can run circles around people in half the amount of time just because I only have one speed.
Right.
Fast.
Yep, pretty much.
Sprinting.
Yeah.
Yep. I even wash the dishes fast. Honestly, I do. I only have one speed.
So how was it adjusting? Well, 4 years ago, how did it start for you balancing, 2 kids, husband, now 2 dogs, wife, mother, now brand new agent, now seasoned agent? How has that transition been from the very beginning to now?
Sure, it was really hard in the beginning. I'm not going to lie. Like Scott and I had to show up at 8:30 every morning to script. No excuses, right? We had team meetings. We practiced. We went. We previewed property. We door knocked. We did everything. I was really thankful. There was a reason why I waited to go back to work until my kids were in school full time, and that really helped. So I had from 8:45 till 2:45 every day to do what we needed to do.
Yeah.
And I maximized as much of that time as possible. But it is important to state that I worked full time like crazy learning, and I still did pretty much nothing, no business my first year in real estate.
Yeah.
Like, I always want to remind people of that. Like, I'm successful now and doing really good, but you have to put in that time. Like, Scott and I both, like, we had months and months where we were just grinding and we didn't have a lot to show for it.
You're one of the few people that you and I still joke about the days where we would go to Costco
Yep.
because we couldn't afford anywhere else. And
Slice of pizza.
yeah, we get a slice of pizza, and like it was like you can't even go to 7-Eleven to get like a Coke or anything.
Yeah.
Like, no, you need to go back to the office and you can drink some water
It's
out of a
true.
mug.
And then there were days when, weeks when we would get Starbucks and weeks when we couldn't afford Starbucks.
Right. It was an interesting thing, and it was really funny because we came from such different backgrounds, but in that moment, you and I are both very on the same page. Which was like, right now, all I can do is try to find a sale.
Yes. And I was disciplined in that, even though I do have my husband supporting me and stuff like that, that my business needed to pay for itself, and I needed to be disciplined in that also, and not out here spending money and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, but the balance was hard, but I did that by being disciplined, and I learned from the best on how to do that.
Yeah, you definitely had some good mentors.
Yeah.
When you were starting, obviously, you like you said, you were putting in a lot of time and not having a lot of sales. Like, one of the reasons we wanted to have you in is because Kate and I don't have the perspective that some people have about how to balance the work life with a family.
Yep.
Like, how would that conversation go with your family?
Yeah, so I'm lucky in that, and a lot of people have asked me that as well. I'm lucky in that my husband, in doing what he does, he works nights and weekends, and he always has. So for our family, it's always been really flexible, right? Like, I think it would have been harder if my husband would have a 9-to-5 job, and then we would be transitioning into mom working nights and weekends and flexible hours. But instead, he works, he sometimes days, swing shift nights as a lineman. So we were all used to that. I actually think that would really, really helped us. And this was my husband's idea.
Yeah.
So he had to support me because
Right?
this was his idea.
He brought it up.
So he was really supportive, but we've definitely gone through some growing pains in that. How do I still continue to do everything that I did before? I'm still the Girl Scout troop leader. I have been for, I think this is 5 or 6 years. I did not want to give that up.
Yeah.
I want to be there for everything for my kids. I'm still the person that takes them to school and picks them up every day, and that stuff couldn't change. So, but it's about being realistic with yourself on what you can do and with the people that you work for.
Yeah.
Setting expectations.
Absolutely.
And going back to, like, with it being the 8:45 to 2:45, right? Just in that time frame, my thing would be, right, you've got clients pulling you left and right in this business, right? And when you go and you tell them, I can only do things between 8:45 and 2:45, did that what effect did that have in conversations with your clients or on your business? Because at least with the buyer side, showings, and you got to deal with other people's schedules too, and it can be freaking nuts.
Yep. So it was really hard. And you always start basically as a buyer's agent when you get started.
Yeah.
So I showed a lot. Maggie was 3 when I started in real estate, 2 going into 3. So I brought her along, and everybody loved it, truly. And again, I was honest with my clients. I can't show you at 3:15. I have to pick up my kids, but how about we do 4 o'clock? I'll be there, right?
Yeah.
Or I would, put dinner in the crock pot. If I had to show at 5:30, if 6 o'clock, then, at this time my kids could not stay at home alone at all, even for an hour. So I had neighbors to help and really had to be flexible. But honestly, they spent my second summer in real estate. They spent a lot of the summer in the car riding around with me, and they would earn trips to Starbucks. We did games where
awesome.
the 3 showings, 3 days of showings, and they got to earn a Starbucks and stuff like that. So, and honestly, I was honest with my clients, and they loved the girls. And my girls, as you know, are super outgoing and social, so they would say the funniest things in the houses. And honestly, my clients loved it, and it's me, right?
Right. You have to be
So-
genuine with yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, you definitely have the blessing of having 2 daughters who are very friendly.
Yes.
I definitely can think of people who have kids that couldn't have done that.
Yes.
But I can still see your girls like in the Yukon, like
Yep.
rolling down the window, like hi,
Yes.
So
Yeah, and they loved it, and my clients loved it. So, and then on the opposite side of that, though, it's important to remember that I didn't drop the ball on my clients ever, right? So I took the time to think about what I had time for or when I could fit them in. And I worked really hard, and I never dropped the ball on anybody unless I absolutely had to, sick kids or something like that aside. But that's when I had my team. I could rely on you guys, and I had people behind me. And that was the other thing I would add to that is because I was up front with the Clayson Group in the very beginning on what I could offer, but how hard I could work and the commitment level I had. Never once in those 2.5 years did anyone ever make me feel bad about having to miss out on a meeting or go home or call in instead. Never once.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's being a mom, wife, that's always priority and first. If you were missing out on all this stuff, I'm sure all of us would have been like, what are you doing here? Leave, go, go do this, go do that and the other.
But you guys know not every group is like that. Not every workplace is like that,
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
It's an interesting transition because when we came over to Keller Williams, obviously we let go of the Iron Key family, in that relationship that we had. And you obviously stayed behind. It was definitely a sad moment for all of us.
Yes.
I know. I actually remember crying about it.
Yep.
I remember
Me too.
that.
Lots of tears.
Because it was a hard decision for you. And I remember we both had a long conversation because we were at a similar point.
Right.
What was that like when all of a sudden the team aspect was gone?
And so it's funny because you remember, Scott, we used to sit around and say, so Jason told us one day early on that the goal was to have Scott and I not be on the team someday.
Right.
him and I remember.
I remember that. Yeah.
We both agreed. We're like, what the hell? I don't want to ever be off this team.
It was
stay here forever.
Because he was saying the whole goal of the Clayson Group was to train up agents so that they could, fly away from the nest and do exactly what we got trained to do on their own.
And we both had the same reaction. We're like, wait, no, what? No.
Right.
We don't want to go anywhere ever.
Yeah.
So that was honestly it was the hardest professional decision I've ever made in my life. And maybe of anything personal or professional, that was really, really hard. And there was a lot of tears and a lot of hard conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the way that Benny and Jason handled that is why we're still good friends today, because they want nothing, but the best for me. And that was their whole goal, was to, get me to where I could go out on my own and create my own thing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not the aspect of losing the core group, right? But that you still got the whole team. I mean, we had the whole Iron Key family over there, right? So it was good that you had still everybody to fall back to, everybody that we know and love over there too. So, that was. I remember meeting at. Where were we? We were at Jason's old house and catered Chipotle, and we were all sitting around, and then we were like,
we were caught off guard for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I was curious because for us, when we came over to Keller Williams, not a lot changed right away, right? Because we kept our schedules, we sat in cubicles right next to each other. That the core Clayson business model was still going.
Yeah.
You and I connected a couple times shortly after. Obviously you had, with COVID and all this, you had to take care of the girls.
Yeah.
All of a sudden your 8:45 to 2:45 changed. How did your balance change?
I'm going to be really honest with you guys. In 2020, I did little to no real estate. I think I did $1.8 million in sales that year. I really had to take a back seat because not only were my kids not at school during that time, but I was also their teacher. Maggie was in first grade, so she couldn't do anything on her own.
Right.
And
they're
she's
crucial
my busy.
years.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's where you learn to read. First grade is where you learn to read. And she's my busy one.
Yeah.
Right. Claire, my older daughter, is a very good student as far as she's disciplined. She even keeps her room clean. She likes to read. Maggie is not. And she was my younger one in first grade and couldn't read, really. So, because in March, they can read a little bit, but not enough to read the instructions on any of her assignments. So I could not put her, to do her stuff by herself. So I had to be her teacher that year. So that's, in my truly being honest with you, I had to step back and did little to no real estate.
It's more impressive that you were able to do that, and now that you're even sitting here.
I was about to say, kudos to you for selling $2 million worth of real estate while being a full-time teacher, mom, wife. I mean, basically doing 50 jobs in one.
And our Girl Scout troop also stepped up for the community that year too. So we did more for the community in that year, and we had the Creek Fire and all that stuff was going on kind of at a similar time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I did a lot of that kind of stuff at that time as well.
Well, and let's transition and talk about a little bit about the leadership roles, right? So Girl Scout troop leader for what, 4 or 5
Yeah, I think
years?
this is my 5th cookie season coming up.
Fifth
the only
cookie
reason I
season
know.
coming up. My favorite season. There we go. And then now president-elect of the Fresno Association of Realtors, Fresno chapter.
Women's Council.
Women's Council of Realtors, Fresno chapter.
It's hard to say it when you have to say it.
Yes.
I know. So, because those are, you're not getting paid to do either of those, right? Like you're signing up for those leadership roles and committing time and effort and all this. Outside of all the other craziness, what makes you want to serve in positions like that?
Sure. That's definitely because at heart, I'm a teacher. I'm a leader. I like to lead people. I'm not as good as a follower. So
Back to your
let's
one
be
speed.
honest. Exactly. It's true. Just to be honest with you, right. I just automatically step into that role.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff is fun to me. That's what I keep telling people over and over, especially the Girl Scout stuff and the helping plan events for Women's Council. That stuff is fun. So one of the things I learned early on was to cut out a lot of TV and stuff that, doesn't mean a lot, scrolling on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I fill my time with stuff like that. I read books, I join that mastermind group, book clubs, and I do my Girl Scout projects.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as fast as I could, I transitioned to being the the top leader of our troop. And so I delegate now. I have 3 other leaders that do stuff.
Yeah.
So they do a lot of the, the smaller
Nitty gritty.
Yeah, exactly. And they help the little girls. And so I have the older girls and get to develop them as leaders and business skills, which is exactly where I'm suited. And with Women's Council, it was a way for me to get connected. Truly, the reason why I was able to go from such little sales to the sales and success I've had in the past 18 months is because of all the women in real estate and everybody in real estate in general that I know because of Women's Council.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people know me now specifically because of that. Outside of Iron Key, that's how they know me. So the networking is big.
And what do you attribute? You said the past 18 months. I know when we connected a little while ago, or maybe it was seeing it on social media, the amount freaking crushing it, right? The work-life balance is still pretty much this. Girls are back in school, so it's still the same time period, right?
Yes.
So obviously starting out, you're not going to have the whole clientele. 4 years into it, you're going to have a little bit more of that, right? To propel your business. But what else do you attribute freaking skyrocketing like that to?
Well, it's the referrals and the tapping into friends and family. I've done it our kids' at school and everything has been my total focus. All of our family and friends, that we have there. And then we really, my husband is one of my biggest supporters, and he talks to anybody and everybody about me. He's the extrovert. Yeah, he's the extrovert of the family. I'm definitely the secret introvert of the family. So he just told the linemen, everybody got them behind me in 2021. And that was a huge,
awesome.
Big price points, big, good people, salt of the earth people that I really love working with.
Yeah, it's really funny because we didn't even plan on talking about it, but we always see that whenever there's somebody in business, like if their spouse is not fully supporting behind, it definitely drags you down.
Yep.
And Laramie's a great example of somebody who from day one has been pumping you as a realtor.
So true.
He's been pumping you as the investor, trying to get investment deals. And so
it's so true. He's like, look at that car with all the spider webs underneath it.
Right. He's like, that's gotta be that house,
sending me addresses. He really is. He's been sending me addresses for years.
Yeah. I mean, Laramie's an unsung hero in this podcast too. We don't ever talk about it, but him being supportive of that is probably has to be a big portion of your success too.
Yeah.
Knowing that you don't go home to somebody who's resentful that you're trying to go this route.
He was my number one referral source for last year for sure.
Well, and when you said that, I was thinking of, you had a big $1 million listing that came from one of the linemen, right? Was it on Knees or something right there on Knees? That was a beautiful home.
I had two because my one on Indianola was gorgeous as well. It was the lineman property as well.
That's awesome.
I had 3 or 4 or 5 this year kind of sprinkle off from that, but 2 really big ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 gorgeous acreage properties this year.
Well, and let's look forward a little bit. So you're going to be stepping into your president-elect role when?
We actually transitioned in November, so I've been doing it for a little while.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yep.
So looking forward to 2022, what are your goals? I don't know specifically your official volume recap for 2021, but are you looking to stay, skyrocket again, kind of keep things the way they are, but have other personal or other goals and stuff like that? What are your things for 2022?
Yeah. And I do have to check myself because I'm a pretty ambitious and competitive person coming from sports growing up.
Yeah.
So I do have to check myself sometimes, and that I have to have balance. So I can't just keep selling
Yeah.
all and because that, even if you get referrals and you raise your average sales price and all that stuff, it still equates to more time. And where do I want to balance?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, I want to grow a little bit, but I actually would like to write and do more things like that this year. I started a collaboration with 2 other women in business, and we're going to launch that this year. I'd like to write a women in business workbook this year. So that's kind of one of my goals. We're really lacking in that space, so I'd like to do that. So that's a little bit more balance. I still want to keep, pushing in real estate sales. My husband and I would like to buy some investment properties this year. It's been on our list for the last couple of years, but as you guys know, we've been pouring everything into our house. We bought that house from Benny that needed to be completely remodeled, so we've been doing that. It's very large, so it's taken up a lot of our time and a lot of our money. So this year, we'd like to finally dive into that.
Gotcha.
Do you guys want to look to buy rentals, Airbnbs?
Yes.
Mixture of the both? Yes.
Well, and then, so obviously we own all of our stuff in Indiana. Are you trying to do it here in Fresno? Are you looking elsewhere? What are you thinking?
Yeah, we probably won't buy in California.
That's a common trend.
Yep, exactly. So we're looking at Florida right now. We're looking at the West Coast. We like the Tampa, Clearwater area. So it'll probably be, I think, somewhere around there. Airbnb would be my first choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because you can get stuff pretty good there. Like $275, you can get a regular little house, a 2-2 or 3-2 with a little yard, maybe a hot tub, a fenced in, and like 4 minutes from the beach.
Do you deal with any
my
kind
gosh.
of on the West Coast? Are you away from the hurricanes at that point because of the heat?
Pretty much, because you're a little insulated. You still definitely get them, but they don't get hit like the rest. There is, in the Tampa area, you have to watch out for like flood zones and stuff like that. And they have the red tide that comes in every year, and kind of it's a blossom from all that kind of stuff. So there's it's like a different beast over there in the Tampa area.
Good
but
to
not
know.
quite as hurricaney. And then the Panhandle is especially good for like investments. It's kind of exploding right now. A little less opportunity for cities and stuff, but that keeps the prices good.
That's up more north.
Mm-hmm.
And opportunities for the Panhandle for the same stuff like rentals, Airbnbs, or flips, or anything in there.
The prices haven't skyrocketed as much because Florida's doing the same thing as Texas and Tennessee, right? So they, doubled in price. So you have to be really careful.
Yeah.
Because just like Texas, Tennessee, Arizona, all those places, they don't traditionally, the people's income isn't as high. In California, we're a little spoiled here in what we can make. So you have to be really careful in those other places. Kind of like what we talked about with the equity climb out of California. We have to be careful, right? We're spoiled here in our equities, 5% at least every year, climbing, even in bad or good times. And it's not the same in other places. So you have to be really careful about that.
Yeah.
Well, talking about equity climb, I mean, our stuff in Indiana, we got dirt cheap, and it's still probably the same, worth very slightly more just because a little bit, but
it's
out there equity is not.
It's marginally more, but it's percentage-wise, it's climbed a lot.
Oh, percentage, yeah.
Because
it was so little to start with.
So we're probably up in like the mid-60s now. So we bought them for $3. They refinanced in between like 49 and 65, but
So
they're probably
after you
all
remodel?
closer to 60s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But still, probably 5 or 10
Yeah.
years from now, maybe they'll be worth
Oh, yeah.
75.
80.
Yeah.
Probably worth 80.
Yeah, but yeah.
Have you
That makes
been
sense.
have you been able to use any of these relationships or anything to help with your investing stuff? I mean, obviously you're now in more groups, and so that helps with investing. You have more people that think of you when they think of investments.
Right.
How has all that worked?
So really well. I used a couple of the apps that we used early on, and I've stayed paying into them, and they offer them to all my friends. So that's really kept me top of mind with them, Property Radar and all that stuff. And then Women's Council is everywhere. So the first place I go when I go out of state is I tap into real estate agent women and other that are a part of women's council. So then
Oh,
they
really?
can refer me back business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so talking to women over there, in real estate in the Tampa and Clearwater area. And
Really?
just because they'll give you more honest opinion.
Right. They have a sense of like oneness with you.
Yes. They're going to give me the scope instead of just the, hey, come and buy real estate
Yeah.
with me.
Right.
Which is what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, gives you a chance to build that rapport up front and connect on something as to where if some rando's just reaching
Yes.
out to them from California, they're just going to want to brush it under the rug and
Yeah.
not give you the time of day.
That is so true.
Right.
We're originally from Iowa. I already told him. I said we're gonna we're from Iowa. We're flying from Iowa. We're not from California.
Not California.
Just so they don't get that stigma.
Change your phone number.
Yeah, seriously, don't look up my phone number.
Right.
Another thing too is a lot of these women in real estate in Florida have Airbnbs and investment properties. So
Already.
they can give me, and what the laws coming down the pipe are going to be in Florida. Because it's completely different in California here than Florida. So
Yeah.
they're hopefully going to be a little bit more lenient, but there is maybe some new laws coming down. So I got, get some answers about that. And
Yeah.
I think they're okay. So from what I've heard, the Airbnb situation over there is good for at least for a while.
Yeah.
5 to 7 years, we're pretty secure. After that,
Solid.
we're not quite sure.
Are you thinking that you're going to self-manage, or how are you going to handle it?
Um,
Because with Airbnb,
yeah.
you're going to have to handle all the communication, all
Right.
the restocking. You're going to have to have the cleaners. You think you guys are going to do all that communication remote?
maybe if it's just one, but as soon as I get past that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I might have to pay someone to do it.
Yeah.
And, these realtors that I'm talking to can do that for me.
Right.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
Or
So-
have somebody who
Or
they can
they
refer
have-
to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we're 1 to 2, probably I'll do most of it, or they'll help me. And then after 3 or more, probably that's when I'll step up, depending
Awesome.
on what we do. So that's pretty exciting. I think I would rather do Airbnb over long-term rental for right now. Yeah, that's just kind of where we're at. Partially only because we haven't found kind of what you found in Indiana than in Florida yet, because the prices are too high.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing we wanted to ask you is because you had brought up Laramie's going to have to step down for some surgeries this year. Before he's been the breadwinner and he's been really taking care of the family financially. This year is going to be a big year for you to kind of step up. How does that look
Yep.
for you?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, honestly.
Yeah.
But thank goodness this is my 4th year. So I'm kind of primed and ready for it. If I'm being honest with myself, right? Like, what the hell am I complaining about? Like, this is the year to do it.
Or
Right.
or worrying about.
Right,
'Cause
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that's that where I have to just kind of get out of that space of, I'm not the secondary income. I got almost made as much as my husband last year.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
hell
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. There
Yeah.
we go.
And see, and again, back to him being supportive, like he's excited about that because our
Of
whole
course.
goal getting into real estate was him not having to work
To
so
replace
much.
him.
Totally to
Right.
replace him. So he was super pumped about that.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I am hoping to make up the entire extra of his income that he's going to miss by being out on surgery and recovery this year.
Dang.
Yeah.
I know
That-
we have no doubt that 100%. If there is anybody who's going to get it done, you're going to get it done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And Laramie can help. Obviously, if he's going to be on bed rest, he's going to have limited what he can do. But, your girls, like you said, they're getting old enough. They can start doing things by themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And, they're going to have an adult in the house, right? So that's going to be helpful. Are you excited about that transition, or are you just nervous?
Definitely nervous, but very excited. This is what we wanted kind of all along. Plus, I feel like for a while our life's been a little bit on hold because I've been talking to you guys about these surgeries for
Oh my
2
gosh,
years.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Right. So I'm so ready to put them behind us. COVID and everything kind of threw everything off. We weren't sure if we wanted to be in the hospital at the time, and so everything was getting canceled. So now
Right.
it's time. And you guys know me. I'm a super decisive person, so
Right.
I don't like limbo at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been in limbo about this. Him having this impending not working as much thing for a while. It's time. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Get it over with. Get it done. Get it behind us, and move on. And then I'm hoping that he doesn't have to go back to the same situation. Maybe he can transition into doing something else.
Yeah, something a little bit easier on him.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I know when you were saying 2 years going back, and I'm sure Laramie's ready just to feel better and be better
Oh yeah, and the
now,
pain's only gotten
that's
worse.
yeah.
Totally.
Oh my
And
gosh.
as you guys get older, pain makes you grumpy and tired, and so I'm so ready for him to feel better.
Right.
Well, when we were saying he's gonna be out, obviously with the surgeries and stuff, I was gonna say put a phone in his hand, start dialing some numbers,
Right.
get him on the
Totally
phones.
would.
Let's go.
Come on,
He's
man.
pulled lists for me. He's stuffed mailers. He's done so. He totally would too.
I
And I
love
told him
it.
he needs to learn about, cryptocurrency and all that. So
Start educating.
Stock market. He's been playing a little bit in the stock market.
There we go.
So I would like him to do some of that stuff for sure.
I could see Laramie as an early investor in the metaverse.
Yeah, exactly.
His
Strike
love
gold.
his love for video games is there for it.
Oh, it's so true. Yep.
So Ashley, because I know this is gonna, especially with your reach, this is gonna reach a lot of people, a lot of women specifically out there who might be in a similar situation you were 4 years ago, right? Just getting started, or even now, wife, mother, crazy schedule, younger kids who, whatever it is, right? And being like, how the hell does she do it? Or how the hell am I going to do it? Right? What would you say to that person who's like overwhelmed
yeah.
and doesn't think they can do it?
Sure. Yeah. Great question. This is one of my favorite subjects. I read a lot of books in business, and that would be one advice that I have to give is read as much as you can, or listen to it, whatever, absorb it, because the things that hit you the hardest will stick with you and will shape your decisions. One of the things that I read this year was, especially for women, moms going back to work that don't have as much time as anyone else, when you choose to do what you're going to do when you go back to work, plan to be the best at it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have the most time. You don't have to have the most education or experience. But if you're going to try to do something like be a realtor, you need to be the best at it with the time that you have. So if you can't commit to being the best to something, then don't do it. Pick something else, because that's the only way that we can balance everything. Is to, when you're a realtor, be the best realtor. When you're at home with your kids and you're being a mom, be the best mom. When you're working, volunteering with Women's Council, excuse me, be the best volunteer and be the best. If you're going to stand up to be the president-elect of Women's Council Fresno, then you better be the best at it, because people are counting on you. And then the two of my things that I do every day, partially from I learned from the Clayson Group, was I'm very strict with my calendar. So my Google Calendar is dialed in. The minute that, like, when you guys reach out to me or anybody reaches out to me and we book something, it immediately goes in my calendar so that I don't drop the ball on it. It doesn't get forgotten, because it will. And then if I put it in there, then I don't have to remember it. I don't have to remember to come here Monday at 9 o'clock.
Right.
It's
You just
in my
check your calendar.
Exactly.
Done.
I don't carry that around with me. It doesn't stop me from going to sleep at night. If I feel out of control with, I don't know exactly what's expected of me the next day before I go to bed, because I know a lot of women that have trouble sleeping and going to bed at night because our minds are racing. So how I do that is, everything's on my schedule. If I need to open up my phone and look at my schedule for the next day to make me feel in control of that, and then that helps me. And I'm like, oh, it's booked in. I know what I have to do. Maybe I have to get up early if I feel like it's a little bit, if I have extra stuff to do, then I do that.
Yeah.
But then I can go to sleep knowing that I have made that decision. And then the second thing would be, I have my Panda planner with me every day. It goes everywhere with me. Every address for all my escrows, all the buyers that I'm working, everything is in there. The things that I need to do today are in there. And then I check it off. It's different than my calendar, because I don't have a set time that I'm going to do those things. It's when I have time. And it might be 6 o'clock at night. My business happens during the day. That was one commitment I made to my to-do list, was my business happens during the day. And we learned early on to do new clients and prospecting first, so I do not let my escrows control my time. I get back to people when I get back to people. As far as if it's not on fire, then it can wait.
Yeah.
I do my prospecting, look at houses for my buyers, work on my listing appointments, stuff like that. And then those escrows can happen in the afternoon. And then my Women's Council stuff and my Girl Scout stuff, that has to happen outside of business hours. Or if I'm done early for the day, then that can happen then. But it does not happen first. Yeah. My business happens first. And like I said, that's the fun stuff anyways. And if it's not fun, then maybe you need to drop it. Yeah, would be my suggestion. If it's 6:30 at night or 7 o'clock at night, you put the kids to bed, and now you have to open up your Women's Council or whatever it is. If you're not looking forward to doing that, then it might not be the extra thing that you need to do right now.
Right. That's interesting. I never even thought about that.
And for all of you out there who listened to our scheduling and calendaring podcast that we did last week.
2 weeks ago.
That was too funny, because we were talking about that is like the most important thing that we pulled from the team that is essential to success and stuff. Another 100%. Success story right here, attributing and talking up scheduling and calendaring. So I think that's huge.
We'll have to do a whole podcast too about the checklist and all that, because I know Jason does it. I've done it. You do
absolutely.
it. It's important. because otherwise, if you try to remember that, plus you try to remember your escrows, plus you try to remember what your calendar is, you're like literally just not going to remember anything.
And you're carrying it around with you. I'm a big Mel Robbins fan right now, and in her The High Five Habit, she talks about carrying a boulder around with you every day. It drags down everything you do. It's just like bad conversations too. We learned early on, if you have something that's hard or you're stressed about, do it first thing in the morning.
Just be done with it.
And be done with it. It drags you down, your energy, like it's
Attitude,
Yep.
everything.
everything.
Have you noticed that the more experience you got and the more leadership you've had, you've been able to kind of run your escrows in a less emotional way?
Oh, absolutely. I was so emotional in the beginning.
We both were.
Oh, we both were. We were a hot mess. We would have to go ups and downs. It was always a roller coaster. Jason would look at us like, he would
Chill
just
out.
shake his head.
Yeah.
It was like, look at you two puppies. Like, you need to calm down. Absolutely. There's very little emotion, that drags me down for very long. I had a pretty big cancellation this weekend. It was definitely a bummer. 3 years ago, oh my gosh, I probably wouldn't have come in the office for 2 weeks. I would have hung my head, and sulked in it for a long time.
Yeah.
Instead, I had the hard conversations with everybody. It was a friend, so that was even harder. And I wanted it really bad for her, and it just didn't happen. But you learn an emotional maturity in business that things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
If you force them, it never works out good. I've done things to force things before. I've ended up paying for pods for people to move because, and they still weren't happy in the end, right? Because we forced it.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot about that.
Has that helped a lot with your guys' home life too? I know I've had
Definitely.
problems in the past of bringing work home.
Yes.
Do you still deal with that, or how do you deal with it?
So I've learned I don't rely on my husband to be that emotional, like roller coaster rock with me and my escrows. He likes to hear about them, but I just don't share a lot anymore. I have people in business that I rely on, and we can chat about that. And then I also try to, after 3:15 or whatever, I pick up my kids. I try not to carry that with me.
Good on
You got to
you.
move on.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah. And I'm kind of that personality anyways.
Yeah, you're pretty good
Yeah.
at putting it in a box and putting the box away. And
Yeah,
then
I'm
when you
always
come back,
usually good.
Taking it back out in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, I really am. And I'm always good. You know what I mean? But it definitely was hard in the beginning. We had a lot of emotional.
yeah, but it's
stuff.
really good because it's a learning curve, and you make more money. The need for every escrow goes
Yes.
down.
Oh, it's so true.
And I think clients can feel that when all of a
Yes.
sudden you're helping them. You're not
Yes.
helping them because you need to make that next dollar. It's like, hey, look, whether or not you close or not doesn't mean I can't pay my house or I
Yes.
can't buy my
Or
Starbucks
you're not
today.
proving yourself. Like, I'm not proving myself
Right. I'm here to
anymore.
help you. Like, that's all I'm here to do. And if it doesn't make sense, that's okay.
Yes.
That's
And
really
that
cool.
it's- And again, putting the people first. I feel like if the minute you
100%.
lose sight about that this is a huge purchase for them, or the further in the business too, you pick up on smaller things like maybe they don't love this house as much as they think they do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
are we forcing it a little bit? Are we acting a little too fast? Or are we priced a little wrong? We listen to the feedback and the feeling of the situation more than just driving it
Yeah.
forward. I've also learned to be the control person in every situation, in every escrow as well. Like, I'll usually be 3 steps ahead. In the beginning, I felt like I sat back and was like, oh, if they're not asking me for this contingency removal, then we're good. We're just going to,
Yeah.
sit back and wait for them to ask. And now
Yeah.
I'm on top of everything.
What Scott and I always say is making sure the ball is in somebody else's court.
100%.
We
At all
do that
times.
for our rentals
As
with
fast as you
property management, but same with escrows, like being 3 steps ahead,
Yep.
making sure somebody's not tracking you down for something
Yes.
because you've already done it or it's already done.
Yeah.
And that's the key to our schedule, right? Very little in my world is ever on fire. And you know what I mean? And then there's other
Yeah.
agents and other people in business in general where a lot of stuff's on fire all the time.
All the time.
And and you, like, for instance, you can't push off your escrow until 11, right? Because I'm not talking about pushing them off until 3 o'clock, but I mean, like, one thing that we have to do is we have to take care of new business first in the morning, and I can wait till 11 o'clock to look at my escrow emails because nothing's on fire and all my stuff is in,
Yeah.
right? So, and we're ahead of schedule, and that is a big secret to having the busy schedule that I do, because nothing's ever really on fire,
Yeah.
and it's in somebody else's court usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ashley, do you mind plugging all your social media stuff? Plug anything, ways people can reach out to contact you if they have questions. Throw your social media handles out there. Tell people who you are.
Sure, thank you. So, yeah, I got a lot going on. So, my Instagram is ashley.full_realtor.
Perfect.
Long, but if you just look up Ashley Full, I think I'm the only Ashley Full.
We also follow you, so you look in our
There you
friends.
go. Exactly.
It'll be there.
Anything that they're involved with, I'm definitely following them and keeping track for sure. Big fans. And then that's my personal and my professional. And then on Facebook, it's the same thing. Ashley Full Realtor. I do have a podcast that I'm getting started.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, plug it.
Clarity Collaboration is what it's called, or Clarity Collab.
Clarity.
Ooh, I like it.
Collab.
Yes.
I like it.
We're helping women in business create clarity in their lives about scheduling, goals, habits, procrastination, like just all those. We felt like there was a big blank space for women for intelligent business ideas and realistic, problems that you come up with, not just the foofy, fluffy stuff, but the real stuff. We have a financial advisor, a lender, and myself, a realtor, on there, so it's a great balance.
That is
Nice.
awesome.
2 moms and a young girl just getting started, so it's a good balance.
When's all this gonna kick off?
So last Monday was our first episode.
Okay.
Today launches episode number 2.
Ooh.
There we
Yes.
go.
And then we like to have fun with it, just like you guys. We are drinking while we're doing our podcast. So we did.
That is something we have not implemented, but
Oh,
after hearing
fun.
it,
Do it.
That is
bullet,
awesome.
That bullet ride is
Yes.
sitting there. We can make it work.
Oh my gosh, how is it still sitting there? So our first one was mimosas and mindsets, and then episode 2 that launches today is goals and gimlets.
Ooh.
And those gimlets were tasty.
I like it.
So we have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But we're, have a lot of big issues we talk about and stuff. So pretty cool. And
And-
you guys were definitely my inspiration.
Ah,
Well,
We're
thank
glad
you.
to hear that.
Yeah, that means a lot. Where are you guys publishing it? Or
Spotify.
Spotify. Okay.
I think we're pretty much everywhere, but like Spotify.
Yeah.
Is the main.
Yep.
Okay.
okay.
Sweet.
So
Awesome.
give her a follow, give her a like, a listen, a review. We've got to give it a 5-star rating.
Of
we got
course.
we got to
Should.
make up. We're behind.
I know.
You've been pumping our podcast for years.
Yep. It's easy. You guys have good content.
Well, Ashley, thank you for coming in today. I know it always feels like it's been too long. Obviously, all of us starting together on the team
Yeah.
and that stuff. We always love seeing you, always love catching up with you. And we hope all of you guys out there listening or watching took a lot of value from today's episode. Like Scott said, shoot Ashley a follow, like, review on her podcast. Stay tuned. And we'll be back next week with some more content. So thanks again, Ashley. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.